Okay, so in the previous two videos, we looked at different ways to work with the masks in After Effects. Now we're going to look at a different form of masking, which is known as track mats in After Effects. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of these masks. So you can either select your masks and hit delete to get rid of them, or you can also just set them to none, and that way the path will stay in there, but it won't actually do any masking on the layer. So to clean mine up, I'm going to go ahead and delete mine. And for track mats, it requires a different layer to be a mask. So we're going to have to make a separate layer for this. Now this will also help highlight the difference between making a shape layer and making a mask when you're working in After Effects. So if you want to make a mask, you select the layer first and then draw a shape. If you want it to be a separate shape layer, you leave all the layers unselected. Then draw your shape. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my rectangle tool. Or actually, let's do ellipse tool again. And for this one, we're going to want to set a gradient for our fill. So I'm going to hold down my Option key and click on my color swatch, which doesn't seem to be working for me. There it goes. Until I get the radial gradient. It's fine if you use the linear gradient as well. And I want to draw a shape that takes up most of my screen. You can leave some empty area around here. Now the gradient's going to be kind of contained to the center usually. If you have the linear one, it may not go all the way to the edge either. If you switch over to your selection tool with the shape selected, it should show you this little guide here. And that'll let you drag out the gradient so it expands towards the edge a little bit more. Once you get your gradient set the way you want, go ahead and select your layer, and we'll rename this our track mat. So this is going to work as a mask for the layer directly below it. So with your track mat specified, now we need to find our track mat column, and you should by default be seeing what's called the switches up here. What we want to do is we're going to replace those and see our blend modes and our track mat options. To do that, you're going to go down to the bottom here and click, and that'll switch it to mode and track mat. Mode will be your blend modes. You might recognize them from Photoshop. But the section we want to focus on now is our track mat. Now, track mats are a little bit tricky to get used to at first, but they're incredibly valuable tools when you are working with masking in After Effects. So let's go ahead and set our track mat to mask this layer right here. So we've got them in the right order. When you're working with track mats, the layer that's working as the mask, which is our shape layer here, always has to be directly above the layer that's being masked, which is our flower layer right here. And then you're going to set the masking from the layer being masked, the flower layer. So you're going to go to the track mat section. You'll see where it says none. And then we have the option to do an alpha mat, alpha inverted mat, luma mat, and luma inverted mat. Let's see the alpha mat first. What the alpha mat's going to do is it's going to take all the alpha from the layer above, which is that oval shape. And anything that's positive alpha is going to show up. Anything that's transparent is going to hide. And if you have a gradient where it fades out, it will actually fade out within the mask as well. Now let's go ahead and check out the luma mat. Go ahead and switch to luma mat. Now the luma mat, and this is why I had you guys do a gradient, it'll actually read your what's called your luminance values, your brightness values of your layer. So all my white values are showing up, and then as it moves towards my black values, it begins to hide. The other two options are just inverted versions of what we just saw. So alpha inverted, your positive space hides, your negative space shows up. Luma inverted, your white values hide, and then your black values show up. So experiment around. Make sure you keep it in this sort of order. If you try to do something such as bring this in between the two, it's just going to completely and totally break it. It's going to try to apply this flower as your mat, which gives kind of an interesting look if you do luma. But basically, you want to always set it up the right way to start with. So keep the order the same. Don't ever put anything in between them. Always keep your mask above the layer being masked.